We get the text that Vince is retired, and everybody's running around like the whole place is on fire.
What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve, and welcome to 10 Count right here on Wrestling News Co. On today's edition, man, I feel like I either should put a mask on or model. I'm not sure what I should do, but Mason Madden, how are you doing today?
Whatever feels right. You know, if you're feeling pretty, don't put on the mask. It's kind of a waste of a good face if you're wearing a mask. But if you're not, then put on the mask. Yeah.
Man, that's a good point. That's a good point. Now, taking tips. Hold on a second. Let me just write that
Yeah,
down.
no, there's a lot to learn. I joke all the time when I'm doing autograph signings and people bring up my action figure. I always look at the kid and I say, "Oh yeah, it's cool if the mask comes off." And I was like, "The moms love that the mask comes off because I'm so handsome."
The kid's like, are you gonna sign this or what?
No, I'm hitting on your mom.
Gotta do, man. It's a tough life out there, you know. But hey, having a wrestler as a dad, that sounds pretty fun, or stepdad.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's jump into some questions. And you've already had such a fun career in so many different aspects of entertainment. But where is the strangest place you've ever wrestled?
The strangest place I've been. Okay, that would be before I got to WWE. I had a luxurious 1 year independent run where I worked for one promotion that's Reality of Wrestling in Houston. That's Booker T's promotion, where I'm actually going to be Saturday for my big return. But we had a show, and it was at a biker rally, and I pull up. It was somewhere in Texas. I don't know where. Somewhere in the middle of Texas. We pull up, and I see this giant Confederate flag hanging from a crane. And I pull up and I pull in, and there's a biker waiting there working security. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm here for the Booker T wrestling show." And he's like, "Oh yeah, wrestlers, get it." I was worried for a second.
Oh my, yeah, that does sound like one of the strangest places. I know I interviewed the Headbangers and I asked them a similar question, and they said they rolled up in Kentucky to a building, and outside on the building it said, "Long live the KKK."
Oh yeah, no, that wouldn't be great for me. That wouldn't
No.
be that wouldn't be one of the highlight places of my career.
No. I mean,
But at this biker event, it was cool. It was kind of like Hog Wild. It was outside. I think it was under like a tin roof or something. There were bikers surrounding everywhere, just like Hog Wild, like WCW, and they were revving their engines. And clothing was optional. There were a lot of very leathery biker people walking around in the nude, which I was like, man, I wouldn't want my butthole on my bike, but to each their own, I guess.
you know, well, usually when I do interviews, headlines get pulled from these somehow. But
Butthole on your bike.
yes, I think butthole on your bike is going to be the one that everyone grabs.
Mason Madden would not like his butthole on your bike. Yeah, that's there it is.
You quoted it. You said it. So now it will be out there for the universe to either love or hate or adore. We'll find out. We'll find out together. This is a co-op thing here.
That's the magic.
Yes. But though, how do you even get involved with the WWE? Because you come on in and it feels like you immediately, at least for me on Raw, you went into commentary and then you get like F5 through a table and you disappeared for a while. So like, how do you get involved with the company?
Well, I was what a lot of people don't know is I was with WWE for a few years, maybe 4 years before I even did commentary. After I had stopped playing football, I played for the Houston Texans. I connected with Booker T, obviously, which is where long story short, I had a tryout, worked out with Canyon Seaman, the director of talent getting or whatever his job was at the time. And he said, "Hey, whenever you're done playing football, you can come have a tryout. We'd love to have you." So I had that kind of set up. I decided I was done playing football. I contacted Booker, who I had met. I used to go to his shows when I was with the Texans. And I said, "Hey, Booker, can you train me so I don't look like a goof during this tryout?" He trained me so I didn't look like a goof. I looked enough not like a goof to get signed. And I kind of waited in developmental. Not even really, I didn't get to do any NXT TV at the time because the Black and Gold era was very independent, work rate, kind of focus. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities for guys like me at that time. And I ended up on commentary because I was doing, I guess, commentary tests with a friend of mine, comedian John LaQuasto. He was there doing commentary at the time, and he just needed somebody to bounce off of. And I said, yeah, I'll bounce off. I was friends with him from a while back, and I was fine to do it. And they sent that in to Connecticut. Paul Heyman got his hands on it, and he says, hey, that other guy, uh, which I felt horrible because obviously my friend was there to do commentary. I'm just sitting there, and he's like, that other guy, put him on Raw. So I ended up on Raw doing commentary. Yeah.
Wow.
I stood up to Brock, and that was the end of it because when I stood up, Vince saw, he was like, he's bigger than Brock. Why is he on commentary? And sent me back to NXT.
Interesting, because I loved your voice to Raw because for so long it felt like it was just the same old, I'm gonna say, just the same old voices. Everyone looked a little the same, and everyone had the
Yes.
same voice, like the
So
TV's
interesting.
voice.
Yes. Interestingly, I got moved to commentary when Paul Heyman was taking over as the lead showrunner of Raw. So there was a distinct effort to try and change up everything. They changed the set. They changed, obviously, they changed the music every couple of months or whatever. But they wanted an all new commentary team. It was me and Vic Joseph that was who Heyman wanted, as just two completely new guys that nobody had ever seen before on commentary. I actually, interestingly enough, I had a lot of very cool direction because I was color commentary, but at the same time, I wasn't an established TV wrestler like most colored commentators were, like King, Booker, JBL. Those were the color guys that had a WWE career. So they wanted me to be young and hip and cool, and like I was in with all the boys because I know them. Like I know the boys, so I can give you a little insight as just like a cool guy. um, I forgot where we were going, but yeah, the idea was just to have like a unique voice, a unique sound. I wanted to get my video game and anime references in, which I think a lot of people vibed with when I was doing it. And I really enjoyed the short amount of time that I was on it. I get now that I've learned how to do it, I can always go back to doing it again.
Yeah, I think you definitely added a fresh feel to Raw because for so long we were in this like stagnant run of just the same old, and finally we were getting a little different. Like you said, Paul
Yeah.
Heyman, they changed up camera angles. They're using the jib more often.
Mm-hmm.
They put the table in different spots, so you were back up top where the ramp
Yes.
is. So what's that
Right by
experience
the
like with the fireworks?
pyros.
I was gonna say, so the fireworks go off when I'm in the arena and I'm, far away from the pyro. My chest hurts. My ears
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
You're next to it. What is
So
that like for your ears and body and soul?
here's what we had to do. So obviously I was training on the job to do this commentary thing. So I would do all the commentary. I would do 205 live, I would do main event, and I did Raw, obviously. So before every show, it was a long day because I'd have 3 hours of Raw, and then I'd have essentially another half hour on top of that of main event before the show. So I would do main event with Byron Saxton, who I love, and Mickey James, who I love. And we would do main event together. And sorry, my daughter's barged in here.
It's all good. I got three
I'm
kids.
muted.
I locked my
Yeah.
door.
Okay, I'll plug it in. I'll plug it in. I'll plug it in. Thank you. So I would do main event. And after main event, there was this very quick transition because main event rolls right into Raw. And King would come out with Vic. We'd run out and then we'd run for cover, basically. Under like the table was right here. The pyros are going to hit right behind us. We'd go down the stairs and then and they had just brought in the pyros back, so they were really overdoing it. And then because it's pyros directly into welcome to Monday Night Raw, we have to run back to the table and act like nothing had happened. It's like a war zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Raw is Warzone. Man.
Yeah.
Man. How's your hearing? Are you doing okay?
I'm doing good. That was one of my big flexes was I never flinch for pyros. Like they have like an alert backstage when pyros are going off. I'd never flinch because they're not going off right by my head anymore, so it wasn't too bad.
So 4th of July doesn't bring back any bad memories of
No.
me of doing commentary. Oh,
Ah,
Jerry Lawler,
F5,
where is
F5.
he?
Yeah,
Man,
where
man.
is Jerry?
Oh God, 205 Live, purple ropes. Oh, but that's amazing to hear because again, when you are F5 by Brock Lesnar through a table, I was like, oh my God, are they setting up an angle? Like, are they set? He's huge. Were they setting up something for you?
They were thinking about it. The way creative works is a lot of people pitch things. As I understand it, and at the time I wasn't as in the know as I would later become as I was on the main roster and working full time with WWE. But as I understand it, it was pitched that I go into some sort of program with Brock because in my head, like after that, they told me, "Oh, we want you to just sell it." And I'm like, "Okay." And then another week went by and they're like, "No, we're still having you sell it." And I was like, "Okay." And then they're like, "Okay, we're moving on from you." And I was like, "Oh." But that in that maybe 3 week period of not knowing, I'm back in the ring and I'm training because I'm like, oh, surely because the segment did so well on everything. Like if I looked at the numbers on Twitter and on or X
X.
and on YouTube, the numbers were like tremendous and like the response, I'd never gotten a response like that for anything. And I'm like, man, even if I just get in the ring with Brock and he kills me in 2 minutes, that could make my career because that's a cool story of the commentator that put on some boots and went toe to toe with Brock Lesnar, even if it's for a minute. But as I understand it, Vince thought that it would confuse the fans because they didn't know I was a wrestler. And then I had to go and I had to sneak back onto Raw as Retribution.
Yeah, speaking of Retribution, I'll be honest, I liked Retribution.
People tell me that.
And the thing with Retribution, let's break down what inspired. Were you told what inspired it? Because what I feel like inspired Retribution. Now, this is just me talking. I have no
You
idea.
tell me what you think, and I'll
This is
verify because I know
very
what it
good.
was. I know it was what it was based on.
Okay, so during COVID and during those times, there's a lot of riots going on. A lot of
Correct.
Black Lives Matters. There's a lot of anger in the world, and
Yes.
I felt like Retribution. Someone saw that on the news and was like, "Huh, that could be a good angle." But
That
what?
is correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure because
The
I
thought
loved it.
was the thought was, and as I understood it, when they first because they weren't sure where they were going. But the initial thought when they had the little guys, that's actually how I ended up in Retribution was they had the little guys with the ski masks on making a mess. And then everybody ragged on it because they were like, look at how small these guys are. Drew McIntyre would kill these guys. So the next week they said, Vince said, get some bigger guys. So they actually got some performance center guys. And I managed to sneak my way in as an extra long enough to get unmasked and actually get called up. But as I understand it, we were meant to be Antifa. Um, when Fox, because it was on SmackDown, found out that there was an Antifa angle on SmackDown on their Fox program, they said, "Hey, stop." So confusion happened. They were like, "How do we pivot this?" Because they'd already dedicated a decent amount of time to this angle. And then they gave us supervillain masks, and I'm like, "Cool, let's lean into being." I really wanted to be like Power Rangers villains,
The putties,
but
you wanted like.
yeah, I wanted to be putties. I wanted to be yeah, I wanted. That's exactly what I was like. We look crazy, but like I feel like there's a vibe for that. Um, yeah, but they just it never really got back on track. Some people didn't want to do it, and then they ended up it kind of just lost steam and they lost interest in it. And when they lose interest in it, you don't win. And the only way things work is if you're, if you have momentum. And we never had momentum at any point. But it's funny to hear that you liked it because I get it all the time when I go out and I do things. People are like, "Oh, we loved Retribution," and it's so interesting because that entire period of my career was in the Thunderdome, so we had no live crowd. I was never Retribution in front of an audience, so we had no idea how the audience was reacting to it. We'd obviously look on Twitter, and Twitter's, you know, notoriously more negative. But in terms of, it would have been really fascinating to know how the audience would have reacted to the Retribution angle, just because that lets you pivot, you know, like if they're like, oh, these guys are actually scary, then play into that. Oh, these guys are kind of ironically goofy, play into that. But we'll never know. It's an alternate universe.
Again, I love the process of getting to Retribution, and then once I didn't realize that Fox was like, what is this? And
Yes.
then that's where it goes. You know, Muhammad Hassan is a perfect example of someone who did something that became too real, and then everyone else is like, what are we doing
It was
here?
exactly one of those scenarios. Yeah.
La Resistance had the same exact issue with 9/11 references. It was like, this might be
Once
too
you get too
real.
real, which is, it's kind of sucks. I get it. I completely get it. It's a billion-dollar company at this point. There's no reason to have to tell those stories, but they're so much more interesting, right?
Of course. Well, also, you know, do you think that the guy who's playing a terrorist on TV is actually a terrorist in real life?
Never.
But
Right.
wrestling is either, they're like, it's either too fake or too real. Like, pick
Right.
one. You
Yeah.
can't, but wrestling always ends up, always, as long as I can remember, Sergeant Slaughter being an Iraqi sympathizer to, in today's world, Retribution.
Mm-hmm.
Though, again, I like those masks. I think they're marketable, but they really never sold those things to anybody. And that's the problem. I feel like that is key. And you said Retribution was in the Thunderdome as well. There's a moment
Yes.
with Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss in the ring when Retribution shows up. And if there's ever a highlight reel of Retribution, that is number one on my list and a lot of people's.
Number one is that. Number two is because this was also us. It was before we took the masks off, but it was when the Hurt Business went against all of the goons.
Yes.
That was also a very like, and those were moments that did big numbers. Like we were so sure, like, man, we have something here. We could, like, if we want to run with this. And the Bray thing was also like, man, we're doing something here. But
Yep.
it's like you said, if you don't have the machine behind you, and that's something people have to consider when they're watching the product. You get what they give you, if that makes sense. You're not necessarily like, there's a lot left on the table for everybody. There's a lot. There's only so much time that you get in a program. So you never really know what people are capable of, how much range people have, what else people can do. You kind of just get what you're given. And unfortunately, we weren't able to go all the way because we weren't given that much to do. Yeah.
But yeah, that Bray Wyatt moment, I think, will forever go down. If we're talking about like top 10 Thunderdome moments, you know,
It was
that
so cool.
is there
Yeah.
because the idea of him there, he's like saving Alexa Bliss as this evil fiend character, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought the Fiend was a bad guy. He's here to
Yeah.
save someone, a damsel in distress type of situation, and he just.
And then even that, we were like, before Bray, lights go off, Bray appears, right? Are all of these guys about to jump Alexa Bliss? Like that's like kind of uncharted territory in modern WWE.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that moment. And though, you know, again, like being F5 through a table, you have Retribution, and then obviously, you know, you have LA Knight in NXT coming up as Max Dupree, and his juices were being titillated, apparently. And here you are, a new fresh coat of paint. You know, you
Yes.
join Maxim Male Models, and there's Maxine Dupree as well. And again, I feel like I don't know why, but in today's world versus just like 6 months ago, that would have been like a Twitter meme catch on that people would have absolutely just gone crazy over and loved it, because it's like, it's not successful, we're going to make it successful. So how is this pitched to you? Because it seems that somebody likes you because you keep getting opportunities.
I don't know that anybody liked me, but I was not doing stuff a lot. And whenever they needed somebody, if you can't say anything else about me, I have a lot of range. I've done a lot of things in WWE. I've worn a lot of hats. And you know, if they want me to be a big monster or a male model, I'm never going to say no. Maybe that's why I kept on getting these things. Maximum Male Models, I had been out They split me in T-Bar up, Dijak down in NXT, who's killing it, obviously. But they split us up in the draft. They didn't really have any plan for either of us singles wise. And I was on SmackDown where there is no main event. So I was really doing nothing. I was sitting at home and I'm going back and forth with a writer and they're saying, hey, we've got this idea. We want you to be Mace the Executioner. And I was like, cool. And then a couple of months later, I get concept art. And then they're like, they think it's too close to Retribution Mace. And I was like, okay. And then we're like, we want you to be Mace the Mercenary. And I was like, cool. And after a month of pitching stuff back and forth, I get concept art. And it's like I'm like a Blade Runner, like I had pitched coming out on a motorcycle. It was like, cool, I'll be a mercenary. And they were like, okay, hey, we need you at SmackDown next week. And I'm like, cool. Are we doing the mercenary thing? And you're like, no, Vince has an idea. I was like, great. What is it? He says, you are going to be a male model. I was like, awesome. You're going to do it with Mansoor. Even better. And they had no idea. Me and Mansoor, we've been best friends ever since he got to the Performance Center. He was also not doing anything. And basically, we go to SmackDown. I do a dark match. And we talked to Vince, and he explains, hey, listen, you guys are two good-looking guys. I want you to do this male model thing, and if you commit to it, then it's really going to work out for you. And we're like, great, we will commit to anything. And it was a very avant-garde presentation. I think the first couple of weeks, which was the only time I had been pushed in my entire life, where they'd tell everybody to clear the ring. We need to work on these model segments. Money in the Bank was happening. It was like the go home show for Money in the Bank. And there's Money in the Bank ladders all over the entranceway. And Vince comes out, and Vince does not come out. Vince does not leave his office at this time. He comes out and he's like, get this crap out of here. We need to work on the runway show. And I was like, man, me and Manny looked at each other. We were like, this is it. This is it for us. 2 weeks later, text message. I'm retiring. Push over.
The Vince McMahon that
was
tweet.
Vince. That was Vince texting everybody. He texted everybody in the company. Good luck. I'm retiring. That was it.
It's incredible.
And we were like, man, the machine was finally behind us. And the unprecedented thing, something that's never happened in the history of wrestling, Vince McMahon is no longer running WWE.
I was at the SmackDown that exact day, and I remember sitting at the bar about an hour before.
That was in Boston, right?
Yep. And my phone goes off, and I'm like, I'm talking to my buddy. I'm like, you won't believe what is going on. He's like, what's up? I was like, Vince McMahon just retired. And Brock Lesnar, apparently he's pissed off, and he's left the arena.
And he's left, yes.
And he's left. I was like, what? Of course, Brock Lesnar was there. He was there.
Yeah, that was
in the evening.
Yeah, that was Sydney Maxine Dupree's first day on the job. Her first day on the job, we get there where she's nervous. She was supposed to have an in-ring promo. And we're just like, she's with us the whole time because she doesn't know anybody. She's brand new. We're like, don't worry, just stick by us. Everything's gonna be fine. We get the text that Vince is retired, and everybody's running around like the whole place is on fire.
So how does that day go for everyone in general? You know, not just you, but everyone in general, because you just saw the carpet for obviously ripped out from underneath you. So now you're thinking like, okay, what's next? But nobody knows what's next because
nobody knows.
The first time and only time this has happened in the history of the WWE and professional wrestling. Like, he's the Walt Disney of wrestling. So
right,
how are you feeling mentally, and how's everyone else? You're describing everyone's running around screaming and everything's on fire.
Well, obviously the show completely changed within minutes. We have no idea who's actually in charge. We have a meeting where I believe that's when they announced that Stephanie would be taking over as the CEO. Stephanie, who we love. Stephanie, who we thought we had jobs for life, because after we did our SummerSlam water spot, Stephanie walks up to me and Mansoor and she says, you guys are amazing. You guys can do no wrong in my face. I was like, we've got jobs for life, baby. We were wrong. But She's always been lovely to us, but we found out that she would be taking over as CEO, and the show all changed, and it's just a bunch of speculating. Um, it's funny when we all got the texts, we're all sitting around the ring because people are going over their matches and their segments and all that, and you could see certain people got it, and they were like, and then other people were like, not that we were ever like Vince's baby doll, but we were much closer to being Vince's toy than we were ever to being Hunter's toy because we weren't NXT guys. But you could just see the guys who were the NXT stalwarts, the black and gold warriors, just light up because they're like, ah, finally we're gonna get our chance. And then the collection of former athletes and body guys just were in the dumps because they were like, our future is so insecure.
Yeah.
But it was all changed. It was like 2 years of just nobody really knew what was going on. You didn't know when, because Vince would eventually come back. And we assumed Hunter was in charge, but then some days Vince would just call in and be like, I want the entire show to be changed. And so we didn't know what to expect week to week. It was really chaotic.
Yeah. With wrestling media, there's always a chance of some things getting right and something's definitely getting wrong. And the Vince McMahon, he's gone, he has no power. Oh, wait, Raw script got thrown out like at 6 o'clock. Oh, now it's a whole new show. Wait, I thought he wasn't here. And
Right.
not until like the official, the selling of the WWE was it like, okay, we know who's in charge because this is a public traded company and this company is not screwing around with their stockholders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was quite a day. And it's interesting because other wrestlers who have come out now with interviews have flat out said exactly what you just said of they didn't, I'm not the text message part, but they were like, as soon as Vince was out of power, their career was over because they were Vince people. And then you
Yeah.
obviously have the black and gold NXT wrestlers who were like, oh my God, finally, because they were either smaller, not as big as you, other things like that. But it
Well,
seems like everyone keeps
it's
having a different
not
opinion.
yeah, it's not I have no sour grapes about
No.
anything. I completely understand you have your guys, and of course you're going to use your guys. But it always comes back to timing. I think my entire career has been like a comedy of errors when it comes to timing. Um, and I think I for one think that we all end up exactly where we're supposed to end up. And I'm not, I'm very thankful for the career that I had, but I just look at all of the just bizarre things that would happen at just the wrong time, like Vince retiring or um me getting signed. If I would have gotten signed 3 years prior, if I wasn't playing football at the time, then that's when they were looking for football players. Or NXT 2.0 was 2 years after I had already gotten called up to the main roster when they were using football players and they were looking for guys that were just like me. And I'm like, man, I'm this close like every time. And I mean, even getting released, I very much equate to timing. It was just we were guys that they decided that they didn't want to do the maximum male model thing anymore. We were pitching idea after idea, but we were guys that weren't doing anything at the time. And I'm sure they needed salary cap room to bring back different guys and re-sign people. And they just needed to get rid of some guys. And we were just guys that weren't doing anything at the time. So it's all timing at the end of the day.
So then with the LA Knight situation where he was Max Dupree and then he obviously either put his foot down and said something or someone said something, like how does your situation change when he decides that, I don't even know if he decided, like how does it happen where one day you're with him, the next day you're not with him?
I don't know how it went down entirely. I don't know that it was fully uh LA's decision. Obviously he wanted to be LA Knight. Why wouldn't you? But I think at some point Hunter said this was when Hunter was in charge that hey, you want to move in the direction of going back to LA Knight because there was a pretty quick storyline of him just switching back. Um and when he was gone, we were like, oh, we're done. Like that, like they just cut him off from us so that we could just um which we did essentially for a couple months. We were kind of off, which led to our me and Manny. We're very we refuse to not do anything, right? So if we're sitting at home, we're always thinking of ideas. We're always trying to come up with stuff. And we wanted to make we're very happy to work together. We wanted to make this thing work because we were like, hey, this has legs. This is fun. People like it. If we can present it in the way that we can present it, I think we have a spot on this show. It's the 3 hour variety show. You have time for Zoolander on the 3 hour variety show. So that's when we kind of batten down the hatches and we were like, hey, let's film our own YouTube show. Very small team of me and Manny and Maxine. We wrote all our own stuff. We got somebody, Andrew Carr, who still works there on the video team, to film and edit everything, and we made our own show. And that was what gave us the momentum to end up coming back. We were on SmackDown at the time and we switched to Raw. They wanted to put us into a program with the Alpha Academy, which was the last thing we did. That was all very much based on, hey, those guys owned it. Like those guys went out and they did their thing. They proved that they could be entertaining with this thing. Let's do that. Let's just take what they were doing and let's do that on TV. And unfortunately, rug got pulled out from us under again. But we'll always be very proud about the fact that like we scratched and clawed, man. We scratched and clawed every step of the way.
Yeah, man. I love the Otis involvement of thinking he was going to leave Chad Gable for you. It seemed like a logical situation. All right, break up Alpha Academy, put Otis with you. Suddenly there's jealousy amongst this faction, but yet you're kind of behind Otis. It made sense. And then
we had this
didn't go
beautiful
anywhere.
story. Yeah, we had a beautiful story where we wanted to set up Maxine because you got bad guys, but like you don't have like evil guys, right? We wanted to set up Maxine as like an actual evil character, like somebody who's just manipulating this guy because she wants to try and drive a wedge between the Alpha Academy. We end up dragging Otis along. We get him all done up when like it's funny and haha at first, and we're having fun. We're doing silly, fish out of water segments where we're teaching Otis how to be a runway model. But the big thing that we wanted to get to was we wanted to have Otis having a model graduation ceremony, right? And we do a legit makeover where we get him a beautiful haircut, give him a clean beard, put him in a nice, freshly tailored suit, have him actually looking like $1,000,000, like actual feel good moment. Looks like the boys have come around on him. Looks like Maxine loves him. Looks like we're all going to be one big happy family. And we have this model graduation ceremony. And in the moment where he thinks that he's a maximum male model, carry, slop, leave him in the mud, completely embarrass him, and then have Chad come out and make the save, and then go into a feud from there where we actually have stakes and emotion and like meat, like actually have like a good meaty storyline. But it wasn't meant to be.
Well, I love that because I felt like it just abruptly ended as well on television. But now you're doing so many things. It seems like you and your tag team partner keep trending on Twitter for saying some things that sound sexual, but they may not be sexual. Describe the situation now, because your career is in your hands and your creativity is in your hands as well. And my God, when I saw that, this thing is, you guys are saying all these sexual like jokes, but they come off as like serious. But if you cut off the last couple of words of a sentence, it sounds really dirty. When I saw that, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, what a brilliant idea. Is that something you came up with? Or is this something that was like, wait a minute, I think I said something that was a little sexy, but it was by accident?
It kind of happened naturally. The thing with us is we can't just turn around and be serious ass kicking badasses wearing leather jackets and riding motorcycles. Like we're always, the maximum male models is always going to be part of our character. Retribution is always going to be a part of my character. That's what people are going to remember. So we've always got to be a little tongue in cheek. Going into the independents, we can take ourselves more seriously. We can have actual matches that are longer than 2 minutes and actually show what we can do. But at the end of the day, we're funny guys. We like to have fun, and we're internet savvy. We know what kind of stuff gets people buzzing, what kind of, like, we have it down to a formula in our group chat. We have a group chat with me, Mansoor, Big Damo, Shane Haste, and Dijak. And we're always in there. And every once in a while, somebody will be like, all right, it's peak tweeting hours. What's the tweet that's gonna get 1,000 likes right now? It's like a friggin' boardroom of just like American psychos. Like, no, this will do better if you word it like this. And the sus content kind of just became it's just so easy. People vibe with it. It's funny, and it plays off the fact that we were the maximum male models. I think that's always going to be a part of us.
Oh man, I love it so much. I thought it was the most brilliant thing in the world. It's like this is money. This is money. Saying these things that everyone thinks are dirty, but they're really not. If you cut off the last couple words.
And then shout out to my friend Eric Lockhart, who I had my first independent match back with. Because I'm on the plane and we're trying to think of spots for this triple threat that we're about to have at New Texas Pro Wrestling. And the first thing he says to me isn't about, oh yeah, how should we start? How should we start? Or how should we finish? He says, do you have anything that the announcer can say Mason D. Madden hitting them with the back shots? And I was like, you get it. You get it. So we work in a spot in the match where I'm giving these back shots, and we have the commentator say, "Oh, Mason D. Madden with these stiff back shots," and I'm like, "Oh, that's so easy. Everybody's gonna be tweeting this. This is great."
That is brilliant. That I hope it continues on, because I think that is one of the funniest damn things in the world. You know, you've done so much, and so what you got going on? What are your upcoming events?
Like I said earlier, I'm going to be at Reality of Wrestling for Slamuary this Saturday. I'm not sure when is this going up?
It'll come out soon. Let's
Okay.
promote.
Yeah, it comes out this Saturday. I'm going to be in Houston, Texas. This is my big homecoming. I'm very excited. After that, we've got DPW in Raleigh. That's our big tag debut, which we are also very excited about. We actually our first show back was DPW before our 90 days were up, because we're rule breakers and renegades and nobody can control us. And after that, we have got Effie's Big Gay Brunch on the 27th, I believe, in Tampa. That's Rumble weekend, and that is going to be the return of the models of some capacity. We got to go to that. So you know how Finn Balor, right? He's got a Hell in a Cell match, and he's got to go to a dark place. He's got to get that evil back in him, so he becomes the Demon King to thrive in that environment, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to Gay Brunch. If we want to be able to compete with the people at Gay Brunch, we have to go back to that dark place. We're going to have to don the boas. We're going to have to put on the feathers, and we're going to have to strut down that runway, because Gay Brunch should be our territory. If anything, should be the Maximum Male Models territory, or the MXM Collections territory. That should be it.
100%. If this isn't your weekend, then I don't know what is.
That's got to be our weekend.
So
we've got a lot of cool things coming up. We're booked up for the first 3 months of the year pretty easily, and even more pouring in. So we're very fortunate to everybody who's reached out to us, everybody who's helped us get booked, everybody who's given us a chance. We're all very appreciative of all that. But we are so excited for the future.
Oh man, I am so pumped. And one final question though, because your old running partner, LA Knight, he's got a world championship match the same week, and you're talking about Royal Rumble. Him, Roman,
Yes.
Randy, and AJ Styles.
That's crazy.
Is LA Knight, formerly known as Max Dupree, will his juices be titillated by winning the championship against Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles? Maybe Roman doesn't get pinned.
Honestly, I think if he was titillating juices, I think he would win. Because guess what? He'd have two guys out there to help him. But he's out there on his own right now. He's only got the Maniacs or whatever they're called supporting him. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't pin Roman. Nobody's pinning Roman. Roman's too powerful. Roman's like I'm a big video gamer. So if you're playing like an MMO and you see a boss character that's got a skull next to his name instead of a level, and his health bar is like blacked out, that's Roman Reigns. Nobody's beating Roman Reigns, but there's a lot of people to pin in that match, so I wouldn't put it past him.
Oh, it'd be great. And of course, you talk about who can pin Roman Reigns. The Rock recently came back and said he wanted to be the head of the table. Is The Rock the man to defeat Roman Reigns in the future?
I don't know if he's the man that beats Roman Reigns, but that has got to be the biggest match ever, right? You're talking about the biggest Hollywood star of all time, one of the biggest wrestlers of all time, coming back to go against the generational talent that is Roman Reigns. And not only that, they're cousins. That's got to be one of the best stories ever told. Whoever wins, it's an amazing story.
We'll have to wait and see what that happens. But all I know is I am so excited to see what happens next. The Max male models. We have maybe we put it on your mask with a blouse. I don't know. Defeat, and take them all down. I cannot wait. And I gotta say, it's been an honor and a privilege to talk to you today about the past, the present, and the future. So again, thank you so much for your time today. I am Steve Fall. He's the man who's going to take care of the world one pose at a time. Mason D. Madden, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Are we allowed to do that? Are we going to get
Oh,
sued?
we can do it. That's mine. That's mine.
These aren't spirit fingers.
These are spirit fingers.
Thanks for being here. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.